Have you ever stood in the middle of a Coles or Woolies aisle, stared at a little jar of pasta sauce or a pack of chicken breast with a bespoke matte label and a gold cursive font, and paid an extra $4 just so you would not feel like a cheapskate? You get home, toss it in the pan, take a mouthful, and realize with a slow, sinking dread that it tastes exactly like the home brand slop you bought during uni. That is not just bad luck. You have just paid the premium tax, a multi-million-dollar psychological hustle engineered by boardroom executives who know you shop with your eyes, your guilt, and your social anxiety rather than your brain. In this video, I will show you how Australian supermarkets deliberately construct fake luxury on their shelves. You will find out which beloved legacy brands are charging you double digits for cheap vegetable fat, water, and modified starches. I will show you how to read between the marketing fluff to spot the handful of genuine, high-welfare artisanal products hiding in plain sight at supermarket prices. By the time we finish, you will know more about the structural mechanics of Australian supermarket shelves than 90% of shoppers pushing a trolley today. And stick around because the number one item on our list, sitting right near the finish line, completely flips the wine industry on its head and proves that the snooty $70 boutique bottle you brought to your mate's dinner party was practically highway robbery compared to an award-winning $10 supermarket alternative. Before we name names and start tearing into the specific culprits, we need to understand how the game is rigged from the factory floor. Think of food manufacturing like building a modern car. If a manufacturer wants to produce a genuine luxury vehicle, they use solid steel panels, double wishbone suspension, and an engine tuned by experienced mechanics over months. That costs real money in materials and time. But what if they could take a tinny runabout chassis, slap a faux leather vinyl wrap over the dashboard, spray it with a new car smell aerosol, stick a crested badge on the bonnet, and mark up the retail price by 200%? That is precisely what modern industrial food processing does every single day in this country. Take the meat and dairy aisles. Real quality in animal products comes down to biological time and space. Slower growing livestock breeds, natural forage, and proper dry aging of beef rely on natural enzymatic breakdown in temperature-controlled rooms. That process evaporates excess water, trims away oxidized outer crusts, and leaves pure, concentrated flavor. But modern industrial processing hates dead time. Time is money. So instead of giving an animal space to roam or aging a cut of beef for 30 days, the corporate machine breeds fast-growing livestock under high-density conditions, pumps the processed cuts full of water, phosphates, and binding gums to artificially bloat the wet weight on the scale, and seals it in plastic before the muscle fibers have even relaxed. When you drop that cheap, puffed-up meat into a screaming hot pan, the chemical binders break down, the trapped water boils out, and your premium steak shrinks into a rubbery puck swimming in a grey puddle of salty liquid. In the packaged aisles, the trick is even more brazen. Real ingredients like genuine egg yolks, pure cocoa butter, cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil, and naturally fermented cultures are expensive and volatile. So the food scientists quietly substitute them with ultra-refined palm fractions, industrial seed oils, modified maize starch, and artificial colorants designed to trick your visual cortex before your tongue notices the absence of actual food. They spend 5 cents on industrial emulsifiers and 50 cents on a textured cardboard sleeve with a fake regional backstory. And you swallow the difference at the checkout. The industry relies on you trusting the price tag as a proxy for quality. It is time we shattered that illusion. Let us start dragging these supermarket imposters into the daylight, beginning with the ones that quietly cut corners and working our way up to the most trusted, high-priced household icons in Australia. We begin in the dairy aisle with Paul's and their heavily marketed Zymil and premium thickened creams. Paul's, owned by the French dairy conglomerate Lactalis, has positioned itself as the wholesome gold standard of Australian family dairies since 1932. But flip over a tub of their specialty cream and look past the nostalgic blue lettering. Instead of pure dairy fat gently reduced, the product relies heavily on carrageenan, vegetable gums, 412 and 415, and modified maize starches to mechanically simulate rich dairy viscosity. When you whip it, it feels slick and coats the roof of your mouth like greasy film, rather than melting away with pure dairy richness. You are paying over $9.50 per litre for what is effectively skim milk reconstituted with industrial gelling agents, while basic full cream dairy costs half that. As food technologist Dr. Martin Palmer pointed out in an industry processing review, commercial stabilizers are often deployed simply to mask lower milk solids and shorten the required batch processing times. One verified buyer on a major grocery forum put it bluntly, "It tastes more like whipped wallpaper paste than real country cream." The verdict is clear. You are paying a bespoke pastry chef price for a cocktail of factory thickeners. Now cross over to the condiment aisle, where things get significantly greasier. Prey's traditional mayonnaise, manufactured by Goodman Fielder, has traded on Aussie barbecue culture for generations with its familiar blue lid. The label shouts about classic creaminess, but Food Standards Australia New Zealand labelling declarations tell a completely different story. Real traditional mayonnaise is an emulsion of pure whole eggs, quality oil, vinegar, and mustard. In Prey's, water and refined vegetable oils, chiefly cheap inflammatory canola or blended seed oil, dominate the jar, while the actual egg content crawls in at a dismal 3 to 5%, buffered by thickeners 1442 and xanthan gum. When you dip a chip into it, the mouthfeel is unpleasantly gelatinous, shiny and sour, leaving a lingering chemical acidity rather than a rich velvet finish. Goodman Fielder charges around $7.50 for a standard squeeze bottle, working out to over $1.20 per 100 grams for dyed seed oil and processed starch. Independent food journalist Claire Hughes documented in a choice condiment survey that commercial brands systematically dilute expensive egg yolks with modified starches to maximize profit margins during periods of commodity inflation. A long-time customer review noted, "It no longer tastes like mayonnaise. It is sour white jelly that turns into liquid water on a warm burger." Prey's is selling you the illusion of farm-fresh egg emulsion, built almost entirely on tap water and industrial starch. If you are already itching to check the back of your own pantry jars right now, hit subscribe, because the corporate cost-cutting only gets rougher from here. Step into the bakery section and pick up a loaf of Abbott's Bakery bread, specifically their rustic-looking country grains or farmhouse white. Abbott's Bakery is marketed by George Weston Foods as a premium artisan loaf, packaged in earthy, textured plastic bags with sepia-toned illustrations of wheat fields. But this is not slow-fermented artisan sourdough. Choice lab testing and ingredient breakdowns reveal that it is produced via the rapid dough Chorleywood industrial baking method, packed with emulsifiers like 471 and 481, added gluten, soy flour, vegetable oils, and synthetic dough conditioners to pump maximum air into the crumb structure. Bite into it, and instead of the substantial chew, crisp crust, and complex lactic sourness of a genuine loaf, you get a spongy, overly sweet pillow that collapses into a gummy dough ball against your teeth and dissolves instantly. At $5.50 a loaf, it costs more than double a standard store brand, yet it uses virtually the exact same ultra-processed industrial base with a handful of decorative seeds pressed into the crust. Master baker John Downs famously remarked that mass-market packaged bread claiming artisan heritage is nothing more than factory foam dressed up in rustic costume. A disappointed shopper wrote, "It feels soft on day one, but it turns into rubbery sponge that smells of commercial yeast and preservatives." Abbott's is not an artisan bakery. It is high-speed factory automation masquerading behind an invented rustic persona. Walk over to the freezer section and look at Bird's Eye Ocean Selections and their crumbed wild-caught fish fillets. Owned by the global giant Nomad Foods, Bird's Eye presents this line in deep navy boxes with illustrations of rugged fishing vessels, charging a steep premium over generic frozen fish. However, check the legal ingredients statement on the back of the carton. The actual fish content regularly hovers around 50 to 55% of the total box weight. The remaining 45% is a heavy industrial overcoat of wheat flour, vegetable oil, maize starch, rice flour, salt, dextrose, and raising agents. When you bake these fillets, the breading turns dark and greasy while the inner fish remains watery, thin, and devoid of the flaky, muscular flake you expect from fresh catch. You are paying upwards of $26 per kilogram for a box that is literally half-processed batter and industrial frying fat. Marine processing consultant David Carter noted in a seafood industry report that excessive battering is the oldest trick in frozen seafood, designed to sell cheap cereal grains at the price of wild marine protein. A scathing customer review on Product Review summed it up. You are essentially paying premium seafood prices to eat soggy, salty fried breadcrumbs with a translucent smear of fish inside. Bird's Eye has turned a natural protein into a high-margin flour delivery vehicle. Now take a look at the meat counter, specifically the heavily branded, vacuum-sealed marinated steaks and seasoned ribs from brands like Beacon Sons. Marketed as butcher-quality craft meats with rustic typography and promises of gourmet marinades, these packs charge a massive markup over raw cuts. But tear open the plastic and read the nutritional panel closely. A substantial percentage of the pack weight consists of water, mineral salts 451 and 452, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, maltodextrin, and yeast extract pumped directly into the muscle fibers. In the frying pan, the science falls apart completely. As the meat heats, the chemical phosphates release their artificial grip on the moisture, expelling liquid until your expensive craft steak is literally boiling in its own seasoned grey broth instead of searing with a dark, caramelized crust. You are paying $35 to $40 a kilogram for added tap water and sodium phosphates. Australian meat science researcher Dr. Peter McGilchrist has explained that chemical moisture enhancement in pre-seasoned retail meats is frequently used to artificially tenderize lower-grade, lean utility cuts that would otherwise be tough and dry. One home cook wrote in a retail review, "It smelled heavily of artificial smoke, shriveled to half its size in the skillet, and had the spongy texture of processed ham." Beacon Sons is selling cheap, chemically bloated cuts wrapped in the romance of an old-school family butcher. Now let us step into the biscuit and confectionery aisle, where one of the country's biggest heritage names operates, Arnott's, and specifically their upscale Tim Tam crafted collection and specialty sweet biscuits. Arnott's, acquired by the American private equity firm KKR from Campbell Soup Company, prices these sleek, matte-finished specialty packs at the absolute top tier of the supermarket shelf. But examine the fine print on the cocoa sourcing and fat composition. The rich, luxurious mouthfeel consumers remember from decades past has been systematically hollowed out. Cocoa butter, the most expensive and crucial component of real chocolate, is heavily substituted with cheap palm oil, shea oil, and fractionated vegetable fats, combined with bulk sugar and artificial flavorings. When you bite into one, the chocolate coating does not melt cleanly at body temperature with a silky, velvety release. Instead, it feels waxy, leaves an oily residue on your tongue, and hits you with an overwhelming wave of cloying, refined sugar that completely drowns out any subtle cocoa notes. At over $6 for a tiny pack of just 9 biscuits, you are paying over $35 a kilogram for palm fat and sugar. Consumer advocate group Choice awarded similar reformulated legacy confectionery their shonky recognition precisely for shrinkflation combined with ingredient cheapening. A lifelong consumer noted online, "The chocolate coating feels waxy and greasy now, sticking to your teeth instead of melting like real chocolate used to." Arnott's specialty lines are cashing in on generational Australian nostalgia while feeding you cost-cut palm oil solids. Finally, we arrive at the most trusted, universally beloved, and expensive brand on Australian supermarket shelves, Twinings Tea, and in particular, their premium master blenders and single-origin specialty tins. Twinings, owned by Associated British Foods, holds royal warrants and projects an aura of aristocratic British blending mastery that justifies prices reaching over $12 for a small tin of tea bags. But look past the gilded crest and the velvet-smooth marketing copy. When Choice and independent agricultural watchdogs tested commercial tea sourcing, they revealed that mass-market tea bags, including premium marketed lines, are overwhelmingly composed of low-grade tea dust and fannings, the pulverized refuse left over after whole tea leaves are processed for specialty markets. Because dust oxidizes rapidly, it loses its delicate, volatile aromatic oils, leaving behind only harsh, astringent tannins that brew into an intensely bitter, flat, and murky liquid within 30 seconds of hitting hot water. Furthermore, many commercial tea bags still utilize polypropylene plastic sealants in their filter paper matrix, which can shed millions of microplastic particles straight into your morning mug. You are paying a 300% markup for the floor sweepings of the global tea trade, packaged in pretty cardboard and historic royal imagery. Renowned tea sommelier Jane Pettigrew has repeatedly pointed out that paper tea bags containing fine dust cannot deliver genuine terroir or leaf complexity, serving only as a high-speed extraction of pure bitterness. A verified review on a major retail platform stated, "It tastes incredibly harsh and dry, leaving an astringent film in your mouth that requires 2 spoonfuls of sugar just to make it drinkable." Twinings Master Blenders proves that the strongest marketing in the world can still sell you pulverized factory dust at the price of handcrafted luxury. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. We have waded through the factory thickeners, the phantom eggs, and the floor sweepings, so now it is time to look at the brands and supermarket tiers that quietly do the exact opposite. These are the items that put real ingredients on the label, back their welfare with traceable standards, and deliver genuine quality at prices that undercut the high-end imposters. Let us start with the everyday staple, where value and clean ingredients rarely meet. Whole bean coffee, specifically ALDI's Lazio medium and dark roast beans. While boutique roasters charge $20 for a tiny 250-gram bag, ALDI partners directly with Melbourne-based contract roasters to produce single-origin and premium blends that have repeatedly won overall champion trophies at the Sydney Royal Fine Food Show and Golden Bean Australasia competitions. Open the bag and you see evenly roasted whole Arabica beans without the dark, scorched oil sheen typical of stale commercial roasts. Ground fresh, it brews with a dense hazelnut crema, delivering subtle chocolate and caramel notes without any of that burnt rubber bitterness found in instant blends. At roughly $14 for a massive 1 kilogram bag, you are paying around 35 cents per double shot, compared to over $1.50 for big-name supermarket beans. The only downside is that you need your own grinder at home, but for anyone who wants specialty cafe-grade espresso on a strict budget, this is the ultimate daily win. Next, move to the dairy fridge for a product where the gap between real food and industrial simulation is night and day. Jalna pot set traditional Greek yogurt, readily available at Coles, Woolworths, and IGA. Unlike mass-market yogurts that use skim milk powder, gelatin, and pectin to fake a thick set, Jalna ferments whole milk and cream directly inside the very pot you buy, using 5 active live cultures with 0 added stabilizers or milk solids. Dig a spoon in and it holds a firm, clean edge, melting across your tongue with a rich, velvet tang that coats the palate naturally. It costs around $6.50 for a 1 kilogram tub, which is barely 50 cents more than the gelatin-thickened generic brands. Dietitian and nutrition consultant Dr. Joanna McMillan has noted that pot-set yogurts containing unadulterated live cultures provide vastly superior probiotic viability compared to post-pasteurized, thickener-heavy dairy desserts. It is pure, uncompromised dairy for families who want gut health without the sugary dessert masquerade. Now look at the meat counter for a cut that proves high welfare does not require a boutique butcher markup. Coles Gray's grass-fed and RSPCA-approved meats, alongside ALDI's specially selected 21-day age steaks. While legacy brands inject salt water and phosphates into mystery cuts, these supermarket premium tiers source cattle raised on open Australian pastures with strictly documented pasture-fed and animal welfare certifications. Because the beef is aged properly rather than chemically softened, the natural enzymes break down connective tissue while moisture gently evaporates. Drop one of these steaks into a smoking hot cast iron skillet and you get an immediate deep mahogany crust with 0 bubbling grey puddle. The beef holds its fibrous integrity, chewing tender with a clean, earthy iron richness. At roughly $36 to $40 a kilogram, it matches the price of those water-pumped, pre-marinated craft brands, but every single cent goes toward real muscle protein and documented agricultural practice. It suits the home cook who wants real steakhouse sear without paying $60 a kilo at an upscale inner-city deli. For chocolate lovers, we turn to the confectionery shelf for Moser Roth 70% and 85% dark chocolate, sold at ALDI. While legacy giants hollow out their formulations with palm fat and bulk sugar, Moser Roth bars are manufactured in Germany using pure cocoa mass, high-ratio cocoa butter, and real bourbon vanilla, carrying verified Rainforest Alliance certifications. Break a square and it gives a loud, sharp snap. On the tongue, the high cocoa butter content allows it to melt cleanly and smoothly at body temperature, releasing deep red berry, roasted cacao, and toasted wood notes with minimal bitterness and 0 waxy residue. At around $3.20 for a premium 5-bar portioned pack, it works out to under $25 a kilogram, completely embarrassing legacy blocks that charge $40 a kilo for sugar and vegetable fat. Confectionery judges have repeatedly praised its clean cocoa butter profile in blind tastings. If you love dark chocolate with substance, this is gold. Finally, we arrive at the absolute pinnacle of earned supermarket value, the Coles Finest and Woolworths regional wine selections, specifically the award-winning Margaret River Chardonnays and Barossa Valley Shirazes. Instead of relying on bulk juice blended with artificial oak chips, these supermarket buying teams contract directly with esteemed regional growers and master winemakers. At prestigious blind competitions like the Royal Melbourne Wine Awards and Decanter World Wine Awards, these $15 to $20 bottles regularly take home gold medals and best-in-class trophies, outscoring boutique prestige labels costing over $80. Swirl a glass and you get complex layers of ripe stone fruit, structured French oak, and balanced natural acidity that lingers for minutes on the finish. Wine writer and judge Hugh Hook has frequently pointed out that blind judging strips away the snobbery of the label, proving that supermarket reserve tiers often source from the exact same premium vineyards as cult wineries. It is the ultimate proof that an earned product, backed by blind judged excellence, beats an expensive label every time. Now that you know how the game works, here are 6 practical rules for testing any premium claim yourself when you walk through Woolworths, Coles, or ALDI. Rule 1. Check the first 3 ingredients on the nutritional panel. If water, seed oils, or modified starches appear before the primary named ingredient, you are paying for cheap factory fillers. Rule 2. Look for specific geographical indications and verified welfare certifications. Green flags are stamps like RSPCA approved, pasture-fed cattle assurance system, or protected regional names like Margaret River or King Island, while vague phrases like traditional country style or farm fresh are red flags designed to sell you a story. Rule 3. Flip over meat packs and inspect the sodium and moisture percentages. Avoid pre-marinated cuts with added mineral salts 451 or 452 that bloat the pack weight with tap water. Rule 4. Examine the fat source in bakery and confectionery items. Genuine chocolate lists cocoa butter near the top, while cheap substitutes rely on vegetable oil, palm fractions, or shea butter that leave a waxy film on the palate. Rule 5. Trust independent blind judged awards over decorative packaging. Gold medals from the Sydney Royal Fine Food Show, the Golden Bean, or the Decanter World Wine Awards are judged by experts with nothing to sell you, whereas gold ribbons printed directly onto cardboard cartons are purely marketing. Rule 6. Always check the unit price per 100 grams or per milliliter on the shelf tag. True luxury comes from process, time, and ingredient integrity, not an inflated unit price tag. The takeaway across all 4 aisles is straightforward. Major food corporations spend millions designing rustic packaging, nostalgic brand names, and artisanal labels to charge you double digits for industrial shortcuts. But once you shift your mindset from judging products by their price tag to judging them by their ingredient list, you reclaim control of your wallet and your health. True quality leaves a clear paper trail on the label. Thank you for watching and supporting our independent investigations. Please share this video with a mate or family member who spends a fortune on specialty brands at the supermarket every week, because everyone deserves to know where their grocery budget is actually going. Drop a comment below and let us know which of these brands is sitting in your fridge or pantry right now. Keep choosing substance over marketing.